And tonight, some real intense Doctor Who debate that will get you behind the sofa as we go live with the Sense channel.
Gosh, could I make it through there? Do you know what? Sometimes, can you remember the Golden Girls? I feel like that's Sophia when she goes and says, "Picture this." And she goes back. I was at uni in Lancaster in October 86, having just arrived in my first year on campus in my halls of residence, a single room with a painted brick wall. It was prisoner cell block H. I'd realised I'd not got good TV reception, so I had to balance all my study books in a tower very precariously and hand the aerial on an angle to get a very pixelated effect of Doctor Who on a Saturday night. I was still audio and video recording at this point, so I knew the video recordings was stuffed, and the audio one wasn't brilliant because you could hear this shh now and again. So, parts 5 to 8 of The Trial of a Time Lord, Mindwarp, was broadcast. It had the invasion of time style, strange and erratic behaviour of the Doctor, let's be honest. What was he doing? It had the Carnival of Monsters with parades of pink pteroleptals, mentors, the rack. It seemed very much akin to the brain of Morbius, with the rush to move brains and find a suitable head. Did you find some of the dialogue seem similar? It seemed to borrow from H.G. Wells's The Island of Dr. Moreau, with its obscene animal and human modifications and body horror. And did all this rise in trans issues start with the male Lord Kiv's brain being put into the female Peri's body? Have a think. This was a disaster of trying to record a program. My question to you and the panel is, was my disaster and nightmare reflected on the show and your viewing of it? Was this a potpourri of classic Who or an overcooked mess? Too many chefs and all that sort of thing. Right. Good evening, hello, and welcome, as David Frost used to say. Let's have a look. Yeah, you know me. Sometimes I get a bit funny when setting these up, don't I? Right. There we go. So, give us a like, Harry. Get that set up now, please. Do me a favor. Play with the algorithms. Play with their brains. Give them a mind warp of their own. Thanks to all the subscribers. But if you're one of those who hasn't joined the Sensorite army yet, away, click on the button. Do your best, please. Thank you. Find me on sensethesphere@gmail.com. Many people write with theories on what RTDs should do, topics for programs we should do, and of course, offers of help and offers to come on the program. And of course, I am always looking for new panelists, so please do that too. And on Friday, it will be an Aussie Ganna 4 on Friday. Brendan, the Cybermat Dan, Dwayne from Sirens of Audio, and Boomer Doug on the Doctor Who Detox Hour. We sound like the definitive alliteration. Midday Friday, UK time. And we have a Longleat 1983 special on Sunday at 6. So let's get those memories jogged or those envy muscles stretched for the Woodstock of Doctor Who. I was there, were you? Do you want to hear about it? Sunday at 6. Okay, so, well, my panelists, I mean, who's left standing? But I think I need to put the red carpet out, of course, because I'm going to say hello to the Queen of the Woke. Here she is.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Well, just busy, just like you are.
Yeah, I've been very busy.
Well, a certain friend of ours, Greg Chapman's been very busy as well, and he wanted to show that what I mean, you are the queen of the woke, so let's
Naturally.
actually show you as the queen Yakanos.
Oh my goodness me.
I know. I don't think Greg Chapman's going to get you on your Christmas card list for that one.
No, not really. You missed a crown off.
Yeah. So if you don't like that one, and we'll ask the thread as well. Don't worry, I get it in the neck as well. But what about this one, Rachel?
Okay.
If this doesn't work for you as a look, what about if you happen to be the Inquisitor?
Yeah, that's a bit better. At least I got a hat.
Yeah. And you're in charge. And just like in your channel, chat about it, don't shout about it. You are inquiring, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm asking questions and putting my foot down naturally.
There you go. I think that works. I might have to use this a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
So there you go. So we've got various ones, but my panelists have been ill and all the rest of it. So I'll show you various. I haven't got one of you, but you might be relieved about that. I haven't got one of you dressed as one of the Mindwarps, so to
Me, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, look at this one, Jeremy. I mean, I think that's not a bad one. I have to say. I thought I can be the Valeyard. I'll buy into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit like yeah. Rachel looks good as the Inquisitor.
New picture of the spotlight.
Oh, I tell you what.
The Valeyard is this?
Yeah.
Scrapyard, junkyard.
Yeah. He could have made me look like the Knackers Yard or the Boat Yard or the Scrap Yard. But Gary, we're hoping Gary still comes on, but he's got some technical difficulties. There's Gary as King Carnus and Crozier. He looks like a cheeky cherub.
Yeah, but he's not that loud.
No, he's not that loud. He's certainly not going to be that loud tonight.
Rooney.
Yeah. And there's Hugh, who was going to be on as well, but he was double booked. Look at that. I mean, I'm sorry, but as Matrona, excuse me. Yeah, just everybody. You did see right. Hugh as Matrona, Hugh as Crozier, and Hugh as King Carnus. My God. And there you go. There's an improvement. There's me as Crozier. I can dig that blonde look actually. But oh dear. I mean, thank you, Greg Chapman from Archive Media Vault, for making me look so ill. I mean, look at that. Dear me, that's vicious. So, I dread to think what Greg's going to do each week, but obviously he's got his own channel. Check him out, and he has a nice sense of humor. Makes me look terrible.
I think I'll stick with the originals.
Yes,
yeah, me
too.
Yeah,
blooming monstrous, some of those. So, I want to get in early, I have to say, on this one, because when you were watching Mindwarp again, and those of you who are watching tonight with us, were you actually thinking of that one thing that is absolutely irritating me like hell? Here we go. I've got to call it out. Did you? My favorite episode of the 4 is actually the part 8, if you want to call it, from Trial of the Time Lord. When the Time Lords interfere, I like that kind of vibe. But when that TARDIS appears, and you think, hold on a minute, let's just get this right. So what you're saying, please, RTD, with your great theories, is when the Time Lords, with all their power, grabbed that TARDIS out of time, they did not see Sutek on the top of it. And when they then, beamed it into their space station for the trial, they didn't see it. Oh, really? Classic. Absolutely classic. I mean, RTD, will you please stop throwing garbage at us? I mean, honestly, it's a bit like somebody with Tourette's. It's like, shh, stop it. Control your mouth. Your mind is going too fast. I mean, Rachel, I mean, have you, you don't have to name names, but in your career as an actress, have you ever read a script where you thought, nobody's thought this through?
That's a really good question. The answer is no.
Oh. The thing
Um,
is, you thought about it, Rachel, and yet that puts RTD in a category of 1 then.
Well, yeah, the percentage is generally very low. There's generally the consistency of the writing is generally pretty good and a lot better. So I would put anything that RTD's written for this series sort of in that lower percentage of that. I probably, as an actress, if I saw those scripts, I wouldn't go with it.
Who do it right? Apart from RTD, who would you blame for this Sutek nonsense? Is it the script editor? Who sits down and goes when they peruse the script and go, this? Are you sure about this, RTD? That you're saying for every Doctor Who story, any Doctor Who fan can go, that doesn't work because the Time Lords would have had a security mechanism surely after Invasion of Time and sorted it out. They don't want the Vardens invading again. So. Come on, who would have checked it out?
Well, the script editor, wouldn't it? It would have been the script editor, but who would you blame? I don't even know who you would blame. But yeah, you're right. It would have been the script editor.
Blame the writer.
And the writer. Yeah, blame the writer.
But I
But
mean, sorry, I was going to say if the script editor can't say anything without upsetting the head honcho,
Yeah.
then it just goes through, doesn't it?
yeah, that's literally what I was just about to say.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's all right. You're absolutely right.
As Russell T Davies says, people have got to agree with me. If they don't agree with me, well, why would I work with them?
Isn't this the problem,
That's what he
though,
says.
with the media, with politics, and lots of things now, that there are lots of people recruited, a lot of people on the staff, but not many people who actually have the courage to actually say, excuse me. I mean, Hans Christian Andersen's The Boy, the Emperor's New Clothes, and that boy who bravely said, what everybody else knew. I mean, this is not North Korea. What the hell was going on? Does nobody in Bad Wolf say, gosh, that's a extravagant, outrageous idea? Are you sure? I mean, does Julie
Well,
Gardner say
and
anything?
not only that, you would have thought that everyone who is working on Doctor Who would have seen enough Doctor Who to know, where you need to draw the line and what's right and what's not. And RTD is certainly one of those. Julie Gardner is, and who's the other one?
Phil Collinson, yeah.
I was going to say Phil Tufnell, and that's the completely the wrong person. Phil Collinson. Yeah, they all know enough about it to go, hey, you know what? Come on, this is what it should be.
Yeah. Well, Michael Herbert, who was with us last week, no one's going to challenge RTD, the once and future showrunner. I know, but this is what I mean. The power's gone. You see court cases now where somebody didn't say hello, or you see, and they get sued, and you get nonsense cases at tribunals, work tribunals, and then you've got somebody like a showrunner like this, and you're going, but it's a creative question. It's critical thinking. RTD. I know it's a great idea. You might have to sell it a bit and say, okay, you're going with this for Empire of Death, but don't you think to say that throwaway line that it affects 50 years of stories is maybe just a bit too much? Have you thought it through? Is there anybody? What's the point of all these staff? I mean, how many executive producers do they have on Bad Wolf as well? So I agree with you, Michael. I know it's nobody seems to have bravery anymore. They take the money. It's a bit like.
I think if he hadn't had it so that Sutek attached to the TARDIS and just came back, sort of off of his own accord, so to speak, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
mean, still would have been a bit like, oh my God, because he was pushed right back. But, at least then we could at least get over it a bit.
Yeah. So people who are joining us, for a fact, it's a small item, but I'm going to continue doing it as a crusade against RTD on this stupidity, laziness, cack-handedness. And I'm sorry, he's earning an absolute fortune. I'm just a Doctor Who fan saying it makes no sense. It's illogical. It didn't need to be done. It didn't change the plot. Stop being so careless with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Left-handed Jedi or the Beast and the Impossible Planet. Yes. Wouldn't have detected Sutek. Yes. And left-handed Jedi. Let's keep doing this with every story. It's true. It's true. Absolutely crazy. So, sorry,
Mm.
started on a vent there because obviously one of my favorite moments in Mindwarp is the Time Lord interference. And of course, that wasn't the ultimate power, was it? RTD interfered from 50 years, from 40 years later. Sorry about that. So this is a very interesting production. I wondered why I picked it sometimes, but then as soon as I watched it again, I thought, oh, I'm really glad I did pick this one because there was so much going on. So, for example, if I just wanted to mention this, anybody who knows this production, there was chaos and confusion on set, the lighting rig, certain things. There was certain risk of industrial action. Ron Jones had to smooth that over. Behind the scenes, there was stuff going on. Then there was the threat of the axe. And then I heard so much about various actors, Colin Baker, Brian Blessed, Patrick Reichart, Nicola Bryant. Honestly, this is a troubled production. Now, I'll ask you both, though, when you saw it again, Rachel, could you detect that this was an inconsistent, troubled production?
No, I couldn't. I really couldn't.
Okay.
That to me just shows that like the power the actors doing the storytelling, they sort of have to get on with it, don't they?
Yeah, there's loads going on. I don't know if you knew about it, Jeremy.
Yes, I did know about it. There was Colin Baker wasn't too happy. He was trying to
Placate,
ask
wasn't he?
ask about one particular scene
Yeah.
and try and get the advice of Eric Saulwood and John Nathan Turner, and then the director. And in the end, John Nathan Turner just said, "Play it how you want to."
I know it's stunning. I mean, what we're talking about there, Rachel, and those in the thread who may know, may not know. I mean, we are fans after all. The story of I mean, actually, I'll flash it up because what you're actually talking about, since you've mentioned it, I might as well throw it up now. So that the issue with Colin Baker, he had a question, and here it is. So I was very confused by how he should, how he should play the Doctor. But I had a very different problem, especially in Mindwarp, because there was a point when I said to Eric Sayward, the script editor, and of course they lost the script editor during this production. When I'm tying Perry to this rock and threatening to torture her, am I doing it for some subtle reason of my own because I think I'm being watched or whatever, or because I've been affected by the mind probe, or is the Matrix lying? Those were the three alternatives as I saw it. I mean, Colin's a bright bloke. He said, I don't know. You'd better ask Philip Martin. So I got in touch and gave him those three alternatives. He said, I don't know. Eric wrote the trial stuff. All the Matrix stuff was added after by Eric. You'd better ask him. So I went to JNT. He said, oh, whichever you like, as Jeremy's just said. This is the level of involvement at the time. Eric was going through his own problems at the time, disagreeing with JNT and all sorts of things. I felt that was all very sloppy. It was all cobbled together a bit. The stories were written independently and the trial scheme was put on top. I felt it was the Matrix line, so I really was torturing Perry. But it was very, very difficult. You expect the writers to know what's happening, but that's not always the case.
That is a very good description. It was all cobbled together a bit, which I think is a bigger reference to the whole lot of it, really, because they hadn't written all the scripts, 1 to 14. And so, of course, they didn't really know what the ending was. And by that time, Robert Holmes had passed away. So that's why they had to get Pip and Jane Baker to write the last episode. So really, before they started production on this, they should have had concise scripts from 1 to 14 before they started filming.
It makes me wonder how much JNT looked at the minutiae. I mean, I've just criticised RTD for really getting into the minutiae and ruining it. But JNT obviously had an overview, and he was a damn good producer, actually. But when he's asked by his main lead actor, okay, Robert Holmes has died, and he died during part 6 of this being broadcast, and now Eric Sayward has left the team. But what's the score? And JNT didn't know. Well, that's a bit whoa.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. The book stops with the producer at the end of the day.
It should be. I mean, I'm not expecting the producer to know every line of the scripts, of course not. But he should know whether the Doctor was being messed with by the Matrix, because that fundamentally affects the trial of a Time Lord. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I personally thought that the trial of the Time Lord sequences, they should have scrapped that and they should have just presented 4 or 5 stories.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think that the problem, it bogged down the story that you're actually watching, Mindwarp, and you're taken out of it with the trial of the Time Lord or the trial sequence.
Well, there were so many things. I mean, was it in the first part, so to speak, part 5 of Trial of a Time Lord, when in one of the courtroom scenes, doesn't the doctor say, "Can we have the edited highlights?" And you're going, "Yeah, should we zoom on?" Because basically, why we're cutting back to the courtroom just to say why we're doing this bit.
But in any court case, you can't just have the edited highlights of the evidence. You've got to have all the full evidence to be presented in front of the jury.
But didn't it raise
in real life?
I mean, you've been looking at the war games, haven't you, for your channel, Rich?
Good luck with that one.
I'm pulling my hair out. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you said you had a spare half hour, and you said
at some point, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so watch out on good old Rachel's channel. The war games. She's going to do a nice little
5 o'clock in the morning. You're still watching it.
It's still going 5 o'clock in the morning. Rachel, just shut up talking.
Actually, you should do you should do all your broadcasts, little shots from every room in your house, and say, well, I'm in a different zone. I'm in a different. Just keep walking through your cupboard.
Yeah. I could do that.
But yeah, the thing is, if it was a clever idea or not, this trial of a Time Lord, weren't you all asking? But the Doctor number 1 has seen the evidence before they show it in court. That's the whole point. And then he says it's been changed. But then the other thing is, wouldn't the Valeyard, if he's got 40 odd years then of Doctor Who history to actually pick the worst examples, he wouldn't pick the Mind Warp, and he wouldn't pick the Mysterious Planet. He'd pick better ones where there wasn't edited content and there wasn't anything controversial. He'd pick slam dunks, wouldn't he?
He would, yeah.
Like Adric's death.
Adric's death. The war games and everything. Well, they've already put him on trial for that, essentially. But yeah, they would. Bigger dunks for that.
Yeah.
That would have been really good, actually.
And so I thought, very clever idea. But the 2 pieces of evidence that the Valeyard picks weren't the best 2 pieces of evidence. They weren't clean. So then you think...
But then perhaps they could have shown all the stories. I don't know. This is just me being wild, but shown all those 4 stories, and then gone into the trial. Or do the trial before. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if you had a trial,
totally
episode,
wild.
If you had a trial episode, though, it would be a bit boring.
It would be.
Yeah. And this is what I mean. It might have been the back of a fag packet idea, but once you actually pin down 6 episodes plus 2, was it 14? Honestly,
16, isn't it? Episode
14.
14. Why did I think it was 16?
What, trial?
8 plus
14, wasn't it?
8 plus 4. Yeah, 3 4s plus 2. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But
I can't count.
So for those of you who are joining us late, the chaos and confusion, which I cheekily said sounds like now is season 3 coming up? Does Shooty know what he's talking about? Does he have to ask the boss? Does the boss say shut up? Blah blah blah. We know the score. It's been quite a wheeze, hasn't it? Well, here Eric Saywood, the script editor, left the show. Colin Baker was unsure how to play the Doctor, according to Brian Blessed. Nicola Bryant was unhappy with some of the scenes. Filming the Crozier lab scenes hit issues with the lighting, rigging, and there was a risk of a dispute. Patrick Reichardt, who played Crozier, was confused and baffled by the plot and forgot his lines, said Colin Baker. Brian Blessed said he played it like he did in Flash Gordon. And there was a concern behind the scenes that the show was going to be axed. Happy families, everyone.
Yeah, sounds it.
Very happy families. It didn't. Luckily, the actors didn't play that across onto the screen. Thank God. But yeah, clearly something was definitely not right. Was the whose idea was it to put the Doctor on trial? Was it JNT's or was it Eric Saywood's?
Right, it'll be between yeah. I wonder if it's one of those JNT things, because JNT always knew how to get promotion and he played the game very well in most cases. And since all the media had said Doctor Who was basically on trial with one more season, he's kind of done it as a clever way. I'm thinking JNT probably thought there was some kind of collateral in this where he could use capital, for using promotion.
Which he
That's
said was a bad
interesting.
idea at the time. Afterwards,
Yeah, I
it
was
wasn't a good
going to say,
idea.
I think that was yeah, Michael Gray did do it, but that was a bad idea.
Tempting
Very,
providence.
yeah.
And this, like I said, I picked this story, and then once I started going through the reads of it, I thought, oh my God, as Peter Harrington says, Philip Martin said he enjoyed killing off Perry, but sadly they bottled it. And there's a story there, but I won't do it this second, Peter, because otherwise we won't even get going. But basically, I'll ask Rachel first as an actor. You've got a troubled production behind the scenes, but you're trying to be professional.
Yeah.
But on top of that, one of your favorites, Colin Baker, Brian Blessed says he was uncertain how to play the role and the Doctor, and he said he came across in some as an unhappy Doctor.
Do you think so?
That's what Brian Blessed said.
I never got that impression. Like if you compare his first sort of entrance in the Twin Dilemma to then, it's a big improvement. I think he worked very hard on it in the Trial of the Time Lord, actually, and I think he was getting to grips with where he wanted to go with it. Didn't Brian Blessed say, he'd try one thing for one bit and another thing for another bit?
I'm not sure. What you mean for his role?
For the Doctor, Colin Baker for the Doctor.
Okay, I don't know.
I thought I heard that somewhere. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but I never got that impression. I mean, if you're looking for improvement, he certainly did improve on it. No Doctor is perfect anyway, but yeah, I don't know if I would fully agree with what Brian Blessed said.
And it's a perception, isn't it? I mean,
it is, yeah.
Which I'm surprised by, that actors normally are coded and careful. But Sadako here, hello. Colin has said he thinks it was Eric's idea, the Trial of a Time Lord, and that he didn't like it, but then Colin is probably biased.
Yeah, but Eric didn't like Colin, did he? From what I understand.
Oh dear, talk about David Harding. When the master outs the Valeyard, I had to rewind my recorded. Well, all my stack of books in my little kind of prison cell at the university, the whole thing went kaput because I went, what the hell? I was freaking out, and I couldn't see it because remember, this production's pretty dark and add pixelation on top, and I couldn't really see what the hell was going on. And then all I saw was that very coloured matrix screen. And then the master cheekily saying something about, the Valeyard is with. Whoa, yes, David Harden, I freaked out. There was no work done that night. So yeah, it's interesting on the Colin Baker front. I got the idea that Colin Baker over the 2 seasons didn't develop the role as he would have hoped, but that was because it was curtailed. That's the main issue there. But
I think had he got his 3rd series rather than that stupid rubbish of, well, you technically had your 3 years because, of that year off in between, then I think we would have seen perhaps where he actually really wanted to go with it. We certainly see it now.
Yeah.
So we'll have seen it since then. But yeah, I think we would have got it.
Do you think it was a mistake after Twin Dilemma and after the axing and then to having this Trial of a Time Lord, a couple of episodes where your lead actor again is being hostile to his companion was just too far and too unfair to Colin? Because I don't think he wanted to do it like the Twin Dilemma really in the first place. And then only a season later, when he's trying to keep the job, he's then going AWOL again as the Doctor.
They do comment on that. I feel like they've commented on that, and they said they didn't want to do that. Both Colin and Nicola have said it, but there's one thing. I know we're not talking about the twin dilemma. There was one thing that always bothered me about the throttling of Perry in the twin dilemma. I could tell that Colin didn't want to do it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
What, as in the body language or something?
The body language. He's like being like really gentle, right? Really, really gentle. And normally, when like you're doing that sort of strangling, what Nicola would be doing would be pushing against him, and he'd be pushing against her. But obviously, he doesn't want to hurt her or anything like that. So
yeah.
you know, I think from the beginning he didn't want sort of like an aggressive doctor like that,
Yeah.
and that was a mistake.
God, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall.
Oh, me too. I know he's my favourite doctor, but I will fully critique that, you know.
Yeah. Babette Bombshell says, poor Colin had no buffer between him as an actor and the flood of contradictory notes from the BBC.
Oh, yeah.
J&T opted out of playing that role. Yeah, and we've praised J&T a lot on this channel, but you know, nobody's perfect, as we say, and he came short on this one. Sadako, sadly, I feel like J&T's production team took forever to finally get each new doctor to the point they should have started on. Let's hope that's the problem we've got now, that eventually the 15th Doctor will settle down into something we recognise. Good to see you, David Mullen. Davison's skill is that his Doctor is always seen as thinking, and like the specs, working out the situation. I loved him in Frontiers, for example. Baker is at the other extreme. He's never thinking, no subtlety at all. Davison is an actor, Baker a performer. Now, David Mullen, I'm amazed Rachel didn't drop a T, but it's but we all have different opinions. I know I was talking to my detox team for Friday, David Mullen, and I found it fascinating that we as youngsters, I wasn't impressed with the Fifth Doctor. I found him boring overall, beige. I watch him now. Oh yeah. Colin Baker, again, the Sixth Doctor. I like the brashness at the beginning. Like I said, my mum who hates Doctor Who thought, oh, I like this Doctor when he was strangling people. And but I did think he was a bit kind of whoa. And Sylvester McCoy, by then I'm a uni student and I'm resisting everything in life, you know. So, but when I watch them back now, I actually realize there was an awful lot more there. And now we all revising things, Jeremy, because of what we've just seen over the last few years.
Yes, I mean, I watched the story last night, and I hadn't watched it for quite some time. And actually, I thought it's not as bad as I thought it was when I watched it first time round. I mean, obviously, the trial sequences are they just take you out of the story a bit. But
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting and enjoyable. I wouldn't say it was a classic, but
Yeah.
I think Nabeel Shabin's performance was very good. So I think that helped quite a lot.
I mean, I have to say, I have revised my opinion of Mindwarp, and I will go through as we all talk about it. Nathan Legg, good to see you. Colin needs credit all round for being a great ambassador for Who throughout the years, despite what happened in the past or how he was treated. And I saw in the thread people talking about it. He came again, didn't he? He had a second coming on Big Finish anyway, didn't he, Colin? Now, the other thing behind the scenes was Patrick Reichardt is quoted by Colin, and Colin's actually said this. I mean, you know, I thought you all had a code, Rachel, actors, not to slag each other off, but apparently Colin Baker says the actor was baffled by the plot and was very bad at remembering his lines.
Yeah, that's. I can't argue with that. I've been in that situation where people have been confused by a plot and forget the lines all the time, and it gets right on your wick. But there's not a lot that you can do about it, unfortunately.
Can you excuse Patrick Reichardt for being one of those guest stars who goes, I'm in the middle of there's an overall structure that I'm not linked with. I'm doing these brain things, and I don't know. Is it just because we're sci-fi geeks, or do you think an actor would go, what the hell is going on? I don't know what's going on. Or is that the director's fault that he didn't explain it well enough?
Could be all sorts of things, really, if you want me to be honest with you. Yeah, it really could. I have no like sort of like direct actor, direct sort of thing. But the director is responsible if an actor doesn't understand something to explain it to them, and then if they're still not getting it, to get up and get involved and like, you know, quote unquote, show them, so to speak. You know.
Yeah.
I suppose if you're an actor that doesn't like science fiction and doesn't get it, then I suppose it will cause a few issues. But I suppose if you need the job, then you just take it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's it, you know.
Yeah, like a certain actress in Warriors of the Deep, you know.
Did you think? And Beryl Reid, and did Joan Sims understand everything in Mysterious Planet? I don't know. I know she was a
You
queen.
know, they don't. You know, when you approach a script, you're not going to be able to understand absolutely everything. And back then, they would have been on a time crunch. So, you know, whether or not they could have actually sat down and actually worked through it so that he could have fully understand it, I don't think they would have been in a position perhaps to do that.
Mm.
I would have thought it was easier for an actor to read the novel first, get some background, rather than just be presented with the script and then say, right, work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably an easier option if you've got a novel or a story before this to work from.
You know what?
You'll be surprised how many don't do that. Actually, a lot of actors don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's differences of opinion in the thread. Jamie Tron says Patrick's performance is great. I have to say, on the TV, Crozier, you know,
yeah, he is actually very good.
Yes,
Crozier. Yeah, I agree.
It's funny, isn't it? I actually, you know, I watch Mindwarp and I'll have my issues with it, and there's certain things I really love about it. I didn't know this was going on, and it's just being a Doctor Who fan, you go, oh, really, really, really fascinated. Now, there was more trouble. What about Nicola was unhappy with the interrogation scenes?
Yeah, I could see why she'd be unhappy with that.
Go on, then you tell me.
No,
Explain.
Explain now. I need an essay now.
She's getting a good suntan. Why would she be unhappy?
It couldn't have been comfortable anyway. Let's just put it like that.
Colin,
it looked a bit kinky as well, didn't it?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Yeah,
you wonder whether there's some outtake for the Christmas BBC kind of.
Yeah, but go on, Brendan. Go on. Why was she?
Actually, she's lucky it wasn't Patrick Troughton, because he would have probably thrown water on her and everything. Him and Fraser. But no, the story is she was worried about the power pack mic with the water, and the person behind the scenes who checked the tides got high tide and low tide the opposite way around, and so the tide was coming in. She doesn't like the sea, I think, my understanding was, and so there was the worry about the power pack, and we all know what happened to poor Sophie Aldred in Battlefield, water and power. So she was worried about that. She doesn't like the water or the sea, and they'd ballsed up the high tide and low tide as well. So there you go. So it was a sea.
Sorry,
Go on, sorry.
I was like, time nor tide, wait for no time, Lord.
There's your detail anyway. Nicola Bryant hated the interrogation scenes, as she did not like the sea. While filming at the Rock of Sorrows, a crew member had accidentally noted the times of high and low tide in reverse. As a result, the water had become much deeper than anticipated as the day progressed, because remember that to get out the TARDIS as well. And Nicola Bryant grew particularly concerned about the battery pack powering her microphone when shooting the scene of the Doctor and Perry arriving on Thoros Beta. That's outside, getting out of the police box. Ron Jones worked quickly to complete this material before the actor's safety was compromised, as he should. But there you go. So, yeah, again, professional. I didn't get that impression when she's going, come on, Doctor, hurry up, interrogate me, torture me, I'll say anything, come on, let's get back inside. I didn't get any.
She's probably genuinely scared as well. So everything that's going on there is probably a genuine reaction. And then, of course, you've got Colin questioning it, and then he may very well know also about her fear of the sea, and then obviously he knows what's going on with the microphone. So, wow, intense.
and it's also a scene I didn't like. I just didn't like the scene. I mean, if you talk about the twin dilemma strangling scene,
Mm.
I didn't like this scene. I didn't like, although we got away with it in Invasion of Time, Tom Baker, when he was the fourth Doctor, and he looked as though he was going to betray the Time Lords and betray Leela, and he was rude to Leela, you know, off you go. It almost was sustained for too long, and as a fan, I was not liking it. I was wanting my Doctor back, but you're relieved to see he had a scheme. In this one, I didn't ever see the flip from the Doctor being the Doctor to the Doctor being crazy or different to him flipping back. I didn't really see that. I didn't know if it was ever the marshmallows. I didn't know. I didn't. And I think we didn't see the big flip unless you two did, because I don't think the actor, as he's asked, knew what the hell was going on. So how can he show the flip between the two?
Yeah, it wasn't really clarified. It's
No.
not clarified for the actor. It's not going to be clarified for the viewer either.
I think, like just looking at it from my professional eye, he tried to do it, but obviously because he doesn't know and he had to ask multiple times, that's why it sort of like comes across to me as he never fully committed to that specific bit.
Yeah.
Makes
Well, look at
sense.
this. I mean, this is why we've got
Isn't that her first story?
Yeah, this is why we've got a panel, and this is why we've got a thread. Thank you, Darren. Nicola hates water and the sea, so let's have her first scene actually drowning in Planet of Fire. Yeah, good point. Yeah, dear me. Poor actors. I mean, and Rachel knows it. You're not respected, are you? You just have to do what the lines say.
Yeah, you have to do it. Get on with it.
Well, some actors have in their contract that they don't work with animals, children, or jump in the sea.
That's true. But back then, yeah, it might have been a different story back then. In this day and age, you can sort of get your agent to work it in, I guess you could say. But most of us just get on with it, even if we're truly terrified.
Yeah,
I'm terrified of horses, but I've done a horse riding course, so. Just in case that was just in case I ever had to approach horses in anything that I may be filming in the future or something like that, just so that I can do it. I'm still like, oh, but
so when you
do it.
You just have to be careful of the front and the back, particularly the back.
That gives me an idea. As well as you going into your cupboard and then going into all your different rooms in your house, for your War Games broadcast, you could also be on a horse. And you could be in the First World War. There you go. Okay. You could be in the Romans. There you go.
Don't give me too many ideas. I'm going on holiday soon. I need to be able to write these episodes.
And in the background, Rachel, can you have the White Horses music?
Well, I don't know.
On White Horses. God, there was summer holidays mornings, weren't there, Jeremy?
They certainly were, yes.
I mean, the banana splits, White
Casey
Horses,
Jones.
flashing blades, the Wombles probably at some point. My
Robinson
God.
Crusoe.
The only name I got from that was the Wombles.
Yeah, you can't beat the Wombles. We were ahead of our time, Rachel. We didn't drop litter. Oh no. Turbo Marie would have been furious. And Orinoco.
They used to put the series on, and it was about 14 or 20 episodes, and they used to get to about episode 17 and then stop showing it. The kids were back to school by that time.
Yeah, Peter Harrington, they are swines. I think Liz Sladen hated spiders, and look what happened to her. Yeah, good old actress there.
There's also maybe like when an actor goes into something, the writing's already been done for it, but the production company are not actually aware of any like phobias or anything like that.
Yeah. We'd hope so, a little bit anyway. And Mad McCam has said, because obviously we're doing this is quite meta. This we're talking about we're talking about the summer schedule for the kids in the 70s, and we're talking about an 80s Doctor Who show. We can do both. Yes, Mad McCam. I did not mention the double deckers. I love Here Come the Double Deckers. Was that done at Elstree? And whoa, what a set. It looked quite American. It was a bit of HR Puffin stuff in the fact that it looked expensive, which normally British shows didn't. Yes, the double deckers, bring them back. And Robinson Crusoe, you say, here we go. Our thread have livened up on, we've reawakened some cobwebs in their head. Sorry about this, Rachel.
That's all right. I'll catch up eventually.
Yeah. Some of them were good, actually. Some of them were good, but you also had Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and all the rest of it. Now, coming with this interrogation, I said I was uncomfortable with. I know the Doctor being erratic is sometimes interesting as a plot device, but it did take me back to what you were saying, Rachel, and Jeremy was saying, which is the twin dilemma. And I think it's just ill-serving your lead actor when your show has been rested and is on trial and Michael Grade is gunning for you, to actually then make the lead actor, who Michael Grade can't stand, and I think the feeling's mutual between Colin Baker and Michael Grade, to then set it up that he's been violent. And didn't Michael Grade complain also that it was too violent, the Colin Baker's first season? So what do we do? We'll have him interrogating, torturing. Who's got a brain here?
Well, Philip Martin wrote the script with more of a comedy element into it, and then Eric Saul would put some more violent bits into it. So you do have the juxtaposition of a little bit of comedy and some what I would call extreme violence, perhaps. I don't know.
It came across to me. That's one thing. I didn't know that until I researched it. But watching now, it does look as though at some points there's kind of misconnects, so to speak. I mean, you've got some comedic lines, and then you've got some real body horror going on, and it's like it's a mismatch. It's a bit like Vengeance on Varos when poor Colin Baker was given that joke to do with the acid bath. It's the mismatch. It's just an absolute mismatch.
Yeah.
Philip Martin's unlucky that both his scripts have been messed with like that. But yes, it brings to mind the violence that you only associate really with the Sixth Doctor, and that's just unfair. And yes, we've covered the violence a few times, so please look them up if you want a bit more discussion about Doctor Who and violence, and whether it goes too far or not, because it was going all the way back to Susan. Look at that with a knife. Look at Mr.
Scissors. The scissors.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm saying the scissors. These things. I mean, we wouldn't be allowed Mr. Sin with a knife now, would we? With what's going on in Britain,
or an attack with the scissors either.
No, because it's too domestic, isn't it? Too domestic. So yes, a bit of a problem there. Right. Okay. Let's liven up again. Just to kind of keep this going. So. Poor Gary. Gary really misses this item. He would be here, and I'm sure he's got some opinions. Here we go.
He loves it.
Yes, my deconstruction of everything RTD does continues. It's actually not an attack on Ncuti Gatwa, not yet anyway. It's an attack on the writing of the 15th Doctor. And in this case, as you know, if you've just joined us, what would Ncuti's Doctor do? And I love these classic stories, and you put the Doctor in the same situation, and actually you sometimes see an enlightening difference between how the shows have changed. Now, here's one. Kinya Karnas is locked up. The turncoat Doctor was complicit in that. But as you know, did he know his own mind? And Colin Baker was trying to work it out. Now, there was a scene when the Doctor goes back to actually release Kinya Karnas and Dorf. Now, how would the 15th Doctor have played this scene, knowing all his wiles?
He'd have sent Perry to do it, wouldn't he?
Oh, that's true. He would have had a little sit down and...
Or Mel.
Yeah.
I mean, well, Jamie who was listening downstairs, Jamie's suggestion was actually that he would... the guard's quite tasty. Whether he would have... there's ways of bribing. Can you remember the Curse of Fenric when Ace, who some people say she's lesbian, some say she's not. You know, there's all these nonsenses. Ace in Curse of Fenric used her feminine wiles to get that guard to come round. You remember? Yeah. Well, surely in our enlightened times, the 15th Doctor would have gone, shake his booty and maybe would have got that gun a different way. Twerk.
Bit of twerking. Bit of
Twerking,
twerk warp.
the twerking works for. Okay, then what about this one
Fine
then?
twerk.
What about this one? Get in the head of the 15th Doctor, Rachel. Come on, use
Okay.
your acting skills, right? And
Oh
you've
wait,
just,
Professor X style.
that's it. And you're in the and the script says that your companion of a few years has been killed, and it's probably your fault. How do you deal with this?
I'd hit the wall. Oh, I really am method if I'm saying I'd hit the wall, I'd slam my back in the wall, and I'd just fall to the ground, and I would just cry and then expect Mel to just buck up and tell me to buck up and get on with it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think Linda Bellingham would have said, "Away, Colin." So,
Oh, in her husky tones as well.
yeah. The other thing is, I'm saying scenes. It was a shocking scene, wasn't it? To see. Did either of you, when you first watched this, predict that Perry would die? I didn't.
No, I wouldn't have thought that.
And having then delivered it, as Peter, I think it was Peter Harrington who said it ages ago in the thread. When I think Nicola Bryant left, and there was a party in Brighton with JNT and the crew, she was then told by JNT that she hadn't died and that they had, changed it later. And she felt so deprived of a brilliant finish. And apparently Nicola Bryant wanted to play a villain at the end. So she wanted these scenes. She loved it. And I think they've kind of scripted it to help that. But can you imagine being an actor? You've prepared this, Rachel. It is your death scene.
Yeah.
And you can give it your lot. And
yeah.
Your range is stretched and all that sort of stuff. And then you're told by the producer a month or two later, when they've filmed another show, that actually everything you did didn't really happen that way.
I'd be mad about that. I would be mad. I don't blame her for being angry about that, because she would have had the script and she'd be like, right, what am I going to do with this? I know this is my final one, and my character's going to die, so she's never going to come back, and there's that she's going to be written out completely, and then just to have it all undone. Well, it sounds like modern day Who, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But, I'd be mad. I don't blame her for being angry. And she's like the first, I actually think, Perry should have stayed dead. They shouldn't have undone that. They shouldn't have done that. It was better that way. The ending for her was better.
Because it's like when Adric died, and the whole nation was quiet for weeks.
Yeah.
I think I got on with my homework quite quickly afterwards.
Right. Oh no, carry on.
I was just thinking, when we saw Time Flight, you saw an apparition of him, but you still knew he was dead. And there was, I think, 3 lines of dialogue referring to his death in Time Flight, and that was it. But it would have been such a cheat if suddenly Matthew Waterhouse appeared on Concorde at the end of Time Flight or something. It just would have ruined the whole thing. And it lets down Nicola Bryant, the actress, but it also lets down the narrative. It wrecked it. I remember that moment in the Ultimate Phone. I thought, oh no! And they almost made that pinky love heart round Kinya Karnos and Perry, and I thought that was mad.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't have done it. I was going to ask, because obviously I was way too small to even have watched Doctor Who at this point. So how did people feel about Perry dying versus Adric dying?
This was more shocking. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think they were both on the same par, but obviously it was the ending for Perry was that she didn't. She survived it, and but it was hard to believe really that really was the ending in terms for her as such. It was more believable that obviously she was killed off
but the deaths are different as well, because in a way you could say Adric's was a bit, well, not quite heroic, but he was trying to the last seconds and all the rest of it. You saw that, and then the Cyberman ruined the chances. So in a way, Adric was given a bit more of a heroic ending, and he went out in an explosion. But Perry's death, I just, it really did shock me. And I was what, 18 years old. And number one, visually, to just, cut her locks off. I know they're not really, but you know what I mean? To physically change her. Her brain is dead. In other words, Perry has died. Her brain has died, and her body exists. There was just something horrific about it, and uncomfortable about it, and such a shame. And it's not a heroic death. It's just a death. The whole thing was horrible, and of course, she'll have been drugged as she's tied down, and so there was nothing about her death that was pleasant. Not that death's pleasant, but Adric's was painted a bit differently. And what's interesting, both of you, is when you saw Perry's death, we didn't have silent music at the end like we did with Adric's. Isn't that interesting? It was the same producer. Is that because he knew? Or because...
Well, at the end of the day, she didn't die. So I suppose it didn't warrant no music on the end titles, I suppose.
But then what's the point of doing it? Because then, you know what I mean? Because the shock's there. You want to kid us that she has died, so you do the silent music you did for Adric, and then later on you play around with our brains. But yeah, he didn't even carry it through. So you think, what? So J&T, you're saying that Adric's death is more impactful than Perry's? I don't think so at all.
Well, I think they're two very different ones. One's as a teenager, one is a more adult character as well. Different kinds of impact, isn't it?
It's impactful at the time, but obviously J&T was thinking, well, wait a minute, we've done that with Adric.
Yeah.
So let's switch it around and put in a happy ending.
And companion deaths weren't common at the time, were they? They are now, but back then they weren't.
No, they disappear, they lose their mum, then they find their dad, and then this, and then oh god, yeah. All those simpler days.
It's interesting that this is the season that we shouldn't have had, because what we should have had would have been Nightmare Fair, the Ultimate Evil, Mission to Magmus.
I know,
and it would have
Blackpool.
it would have been interesting to see whether Nicola Bryant would have stayed right through the whole of that season.
Well, these are things we'll never know. But Paul Richards, as a child, I found Perry's death quite chilling. I agree with you on that one, Paul. Left-handed Jedi. Was Adric liked across the pond?
Don't know.
I found the TARDIS crew at the time. I think I've said it a few times. I like them all individually. We all know Peter Davison preferred the Nyssa character.
Yeah.
Tegan seemed to hector the Doctor too much for my liking as a kid. And Adric was just a pain in the neck. That's how
Tom Baker said there was too many in the TARDIS. And it was becoming a bit, well, you said juvenile.
Yeah.
So it meant obviously the younger leads.
Now, Peter Harrington is my Doctor Who twin. Perry, definitely more. There you go. You say we agree again. A body takeover. Her mind first, lost forever. Adric's was heroic. Perry says this. Peter, I think we're going to have to do a genealogy thing. Were we split up at birth or something? What happened? It's just we always agree. And the Peter... I'm trying to read this. I need glasses. Venkman Fansite, the marriage with Yakanos just comes out of left field. Oh, yeah. Since it seems like she didn't really have any interest in him. I know, obviously, clearly I know now that this is what happened. I was trying to watch those moments between Brian Blessed and Nicola Bryant and thinking, did I get a spark? I mean, You're now our body language expert, Rachel, because you said in the Twin Dilemma, you could see Colin Baker was taking it easy with Nicola. So could you see that Brian Blessed was going, right, this is how we're going to show the spark? And Nicola Bryant was going, oh my God, he's amazing.
No, I couldn't see it, but they wouldn't have, if they had known at the time, then that they would have played it that way, but they didn't know. I'm pretty sure they didn't know.
Right. Well, we were in the middle of what would the shooty Doctor do. Now with this one, what I was interested in this one is when the Doctor was turncoat and was the surgeon's assistant, and he was helping him actually do this brain surgery, which the Time Lords then thought was going to change everything and all civilization. So the Doctor really, I don't know. He's in more trouble here than he is in War Games, Rachel. Here's some script for you. There you go. But I think the shooty doctor would have liked the orange.
Yes.
There you go. You see,
Yes.
I'm deep. You know, I go there. I think I'm as shallow as the shooty doctor that I would have gone. I like the orange though. Do you know what? I might actually just betray my companion for the sake of an orange cape. Thank you very much. Does it bring out my skin? Thank you very much.
It probably put it in the TARDIS wardrobe.
Yeah. Well, that does look like one of his vests, to be honest, you know, in the colour. In fact, I think the
True.
shooty doctor might want to go back in time and actually just kind of, you know, do some tailoring job on that. You know, like the great big, was it the Great British Sewing Bee?
Wouldn't this colour clash with blood? It should be white, shouldn't it, really?
This is the problem with the shooty doctor, that it's vanity, it's shallowness. It's like, oh, God. Right. Here we go. You can see Colin Baker in the middle, the sixth doctor, with 9 doctors to go. My 9 doctors. And you can see when he had to be silly. I'm out of my head. I don't know what I'm doing. And, you know, his mind had been scrambled at the end of episode 1. How do you think the shooty doctor would have presented silliness? I'm crazy. I'm out of it. Because the 15th doctor would have to act in a way he hasn't been to show he's different.
Just act the same.
Yeah.
That's how it comes across at the moment, anyway.
I'm wondering if the shooty doctor, if he had to be different to how he's always been, would be serious, heroic, suddenly very moral, and you know, so all the things we want from the doctor. He might suddenly have turned into the doctor after this. I think this is one of the first scenes where I'm thinking the 15th doctor in episode 2 and 3 would have turned into the doctor, would have been in reverse.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
My God, you know. And then the last one, for those of you who are going, oh, please, no more shooty. The interrogation scene. How would the shooty of Doctor have done the interrogation scene?
Oh.
Come on, babes.
Oh, okay. So he would have. This is hard. Okay. Let me just get into the zone. So what he would have done is, like, pretty much done it sort of like there, but then like way Colin does it, but then goes, babes, I'm trying to help you here. Babes. You know, that kind of thing.
I think lots of kissing. You know, he kissed her going, oh, come on, you know, and lots of stroking. And I think he would have, you know, kind of calming and reaffirming and babes. And I think there would have been a tear. Sorry about it. We have never mentioned a tear yet. I think there would have been a tear going, this is hurting you more than me. You know, like parents when they used to have to smack you. This is hurting you more than me. I think there would have, I think a bit of that. Do you know, Shooty, if you want an acting coach, I am available Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
He'd say, babes, I've been to drama school, or wherever it was he went. I can't remember where he went now.
Yeah. You wear orange, now wear black. There you go. That's it. So there's our lovely item, which you all have requested. Not. Gary, sorry you missed it. I'm sure you had some great stuff to talk about.
There's always next time, Gary.
Yeah. Always next time. There is always definitely a next time. So let's get on with the plot, as I think Kenny Everett's actor. Yeah. Right. Okay. So here we go. Time flash itself. So 4th of October to the 25th of October it was, for some of us, Rachel.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
How come I always do classics where Rachel just sits there going, whatever. Anyway, these are the notables. We've mentioned some of them. It was going to be called the Planet of Syl. That kind of makes sense because Syl was such a hit in Vengeance. Obviously, Brian Blessed has mentioned the issue about. I can't believe this, Rachel. Brian Blessed turned down a major film role to be on this.
Actually, I could believe that.
Really?
Because there's some even in this sort of that day and age, there's a lot of actors who I've met and I've worked with who have said, do you know, if ever I got offered a part on Doctor Who, I would do it. I would turn down another role just to do Doctor Who, so then I can say I've done Doctor Who. So I can believe that.
Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, yeah.
But it's quite a risk to take, but I don't think it would have affected his career. So
Particularly if it's a Dalek episode. I suppose. Yeah. Who
And,
wouldn't want
and,
to be
and
in it?
while we've moved on, of course, the thread are loving the shooty bits. I can't see RTD ever okay in that interrogation scene. Very few writers would have gone there.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, we
now
need,
we're there.
we need Doctor Who more serious. Heather, good to see you. He would have fumbled it up. We've got Lee Smith tickled Perry till she okay, yeah. Paul Richards, Gatward doesn't have the gravitas that Colin had or the stern quality. And remember, Colin goes back to the brothers and various things, and you know, he was a rotter in the brothers, wasn't he? He was a baddie lawyer.
Paul Merrinley.
Yeah. Jamie Tron, when Shooty was written by Moffat at that one time, he became out of character by having a touch more depth. And of course, Jamie Tron is saying Gordon's alive. I know.
Gordon's alive.
That's all we were waiting for, really, because it was played similar. Okay. The finale partly came about because Nicola Bryant wanted to play a villain. So that explains the possibility of that scene when she is Lord Kiv. The trouble is, they then ruined it. Brian Blessed saying that the production wasn't an entirely happy atmosphere due to the threat that the series was under, and he thought that the Colin had not decided how to play the Doctor, and he found his version of the Doctor was unhappy. Eric Sayward thought this was the best story of the trial of a Time Lord, and Nicola joked, or truthfully joked, that the lab door cost more than she did. Which I did like that door, actually. And then you had the Posican delegate. Remember that? Yeah. Well, do you know what it reminded me of? I'm going to say so now. I mean, it was a pteroleptal, of course. It was a pink pteroleptal, but it does remind me of, because everybody remember this. It won't be Rachel. I know this one. Whizbit.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
No.
I think the Posican delegate was Whizbit, but obviously done in a different colour. Debbie McGee. It was a bit Paul Daniels, wasn't it, with Whizbit? So yeah, there you go. There's now. Do you want another ratings? Because Rachel and Jeremy, you know, we were obsessed with ratings, so we've got to be fair.
5 million.
Oh God.
Oh.
Oh.
Ouch.
Oh, it hurts, doesn't it? It.
Wasn't the A Team on the other side?
Yeah. Well, it did have a big production. It may have been the A Team because it was around that time, wasn't it? But
yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh, but it must be closer to like 40 now. You know, maybe 50, maybe 100, because you know we've got to add all of the other years on, haven't we?
That's right.
Yeah, we do. I mean, the Sense Sphere. I think we've reached 1,000 views in total now. There we go. Are we with? This is what I mean. What a stupid idea they have, isn't it? But those figures there tells me when you've created trouble with the production, thanks to Michael Grade, and you've made everybody notice that it's not a production that's happy, and that it's a production that you may not have to invest your time in as a viewer because he may axe it. You just lose people, and that's the position we've been in the last few years as well. And I'm not excusing the ratings where we are now, but those figures do look like trouble production. When you think that the first season of Colin Baker with Attack of the Cybermen was about 9 million,
8.9, something like that.
Yeah.
It's quite high.
So I think through no fault of Colin Baker, he has lost half his viewers.
Yeah. Paul Richards is saying it in the comments section that Colin was taken off a year, which dented his ratings because his ratings were good before.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. That did not help.
But also psychologically, if you're an ordinary viewer and you're seeing that there's a show called Trial of a Time Lord, it's 14 episodes. Would you really sort of think, I don't want to miss one or two of the episodes, or I won't know what the whole of the story is?
Jeremy, it's almost like the BBC. Oh, surprise! I can't believe I'm saying this as if it's a revelation. The BBC scored a few own goals. You know, Michael Grade torpedoing one of his own shows, then bringing it back under pressure, and then the producer of the show coming up with a 14-part series, which makes it look as though it's under pressure. These are all own goals, aren't they?
Yeah. The way Doctor Who was shown over, it's going to be over 14 weeks.
Yeah.
So you just really wouldn't want to miss an episode. I know we had video recorders back then, but as to whether everybody had video recorders, I don't know.
So where would you like to start some of your... I mean, there's so many controversies in this program, from narrative to character to costume. I mean, we go on about cultural appropriation nowadays. We had a samurai, Brian Blessed. We had those Chilean kind of capes of all the slaves' resistance. I mean, are any of these shows allowed now under this nonsense of 2024 sensitivity? I mean, did you notice that and go, oh my God, if we can't have Sutek in Egyptian garb, this series is stuffed.
Do you know, when I sat there watching it, it didn't even cross my mind. I wasn't even thinking about it.
I've been trained.
Neither was I.
I was just watching it.
I think I've been groomed by RTD. I've got that horrible mind think now. Yes, yeah. I think it's because I'm always looking for an argument. That's why. But yeah.
But you're right. They probably wouldn't get away with putting someone like Brian Blessed in a samurai outfit now. They would have to put someone who was Japanese in that role, say.
Mind you,
it's not cultural appropriation.
Mind you, did you notice? And I don't want to notice this, but I'm noticing everything now, and that's not my fault anymore. I've been made to think and notice things I shouldn't, because I'm not colorblind anymore because of all the nonsense that's gone on. It was an interesting cast, actually, wasn't it?
It's very diverse cast.
Yeah,
really diverse cast, but unfortunately, you wonder whether there was an undercurrent going on with the plot, which is it was about slaves, and Perry was going to be a slave, and there was a whole kind of vibe in the narrative about slavery, and it was interesting that most of the cast who were slaves obviously were ethnic minorities. I just wondered if that was deliberate.
It's how it's done, though, isn't it? It's rather than saying it, they just did it without saying it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there was no message. There was no message, was there?
Nothing that's like rammed down our throats. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah. So, where would you like to start, Jeremy? Because I've been kind of, throwing a few spanners in the works here. But, on your appreciation of that story, anything of note on the good or the bad that you want to explore?
Well, the good part of it is the acting of Nabil Shabin as Syl.
Yes.
And it's really quite outstanding, I think. Brian Blessed, well, it's Brian Blessed, it's chewing up the scenery. I mean, I've seen him in other things, and he can be quite of the stature like Oliver Reed and do a quiet performance, but still look menacing. Colin Baker's performance was okay, apart from the bit where he was under the influence. I thought it tended to sort of veer into kind of silliness and pantomime on occasions.
So on the Syl front, then, what do you like about the Syl character? And did you think he developed between Vengeance and this one? Do you think he got it down pat? Do you think Philip Martin was exploring an element of it? What did you like?
I think he's one of those characters that is a really good character, good solid character, and obviously he's wicked and evil and naughty as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of kids can sort of identify with that.
Yes, 1 minute he's a creep, the next minute he's threatening, the next minute he's fawning, and the next. I love that line. I endeavour to maintain a certain continuity when he was praised by the Sixth Doctor for some the way he was acting, and and of course, it's so famous from in rehearsals when that moment when he started to do that.
He's got all the bad qualities in human beings all put into one, isn't he?
Yeah.
In that sense.
And are you surprised we've never seen Syl back?
Well, was he killed in this one?
Well, yeah. I mean, what's the truth of this story? Is it the Bobby Ewing coming out the shower all over again?
I don't know. I've no idea. I mean, Russell T Davies could bring him back, I suppose.
Yeah, but he'd be walking. it'd be too problematic, wouldn't it?
Oh,
Yes.
Rachel, oh no, you have been groomed like me. Oh no, wait, and listen,
I'm sure. I don't know his name, but I'm sure Sill's actor would have something to say about it because he is disabled in real life, so
Yeah.
he'd have a lot to say about it, I'd imagine.
well, and John Yulden, who must be huffing and puffing, sorry, John, evening all, watching the show on the exercise bike at the gym. Get you? I'm so
Hey.
rock and roll. You watching us on an exercise bike? Away, go faster, another mile, John. Hurry up, come on.
I think he's doing a Tom Baker and Sharda. Cycling through Cambridge.
Yeah, so there you go, everybody. John Yulden is not going to broadcast anymore because he will have had an attack. He's pulled a muscle. Right.
I've done 200 miles already.
Yeah, you've got to keep going to the end of this show. And Rachel and Jeremy, should we agree now? We'll go for another 5 hours. So John will be knackered.
yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
He'd have switched to the rowing machine by that point.
Exercise bike. How do we know? Where's the evidence, John? I mean, under the table here, look, I've got one of those little things they have on the adverts for old people. Look at this. I could pretend. Honestly.
We miss you, John.
There he is. Is he still there? He'll answer back in a minute. He'll be full of cheek. So yes, Sill. I do like the Sill character. And even if he was killed, they could bring the Bill Shaban back as another mentor, obviously.
Or another alien.
Yeah, of course
But
they could.
Do you think it's worth bringing the mentors back? Because it's all about commerce and capitalism. And is this a dangerous one for Doctor Who at the moment? Because they seem to really get it, have it in for it.
It might be dangerous, but I don't know. Some characters are best not overused, and maybe the mentors are one of them. They brought back Christopher Ryan, though, didn't they?
Yes, as Sontaran. Was it Sontaran?
It was a Sontaran, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, he came back as a Sontaran.
Yeah.
So maybe the other one will come back. I can never remember his name. What's his name?
They are a great character, and you make a very good point. How the hell would they deal with this now? Because they can't. Mind you, Christopher Ryan isn't disabled in any way, is he? He's just
he's just short.
He's just short like me.
Kid.
Sorry. Rachel gets blunt on the sensitive.
Rachel, I'm not sure in 2024 you can short shame anybody. I'm sorry, but
I short shame my mum all the time. So I think I'll be all right because she shames my small feet, so it's fine.
Well, that's it. But I think this is I thought this was a great character, this Lord Kiv, and I liked.
Yeah.
Mind you, I said in my intro, did you get the sense of the brain of Morbius, the island of Dr. Moreau? I could see where there were lots of kind of influences here, and the Island of Dr. Moreau with Burt Lancaster and Michael York. That's my favorite of the two movies I've seen. The other one with forget it. I forgot his name. Very famous actor, but that version I really loved. And the way Michael York, I remember he was in a cage and he'd been given the serum and he was being turned into an animal and he was resisting it. And that moment when he suddenly sees a box of mice or something and he suddenly starts saying he wants one. And I found that so kind of, engaging to watch as a kid. And I had that sense with this. It was very H.G. Wells' The Island of Dr. Moreau. I don't know if anyone picked up any other influences. And then the dialogue about I need the right head was just so brain and Morbius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose a bit of plagiarism, isn't it? That the writers pick up on these things when they see them and think, that might make a good story. Well,
John Yulden he's now becoming Bonnie Langford.
Characters.
So,
wait, John's on my wall. No way.
John's on Rachel's wall. Let's start the rumors
Whoa.
now.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Next week, John is on Rachel's channel.
Oh gosh, where are we going? I will say I actually really like the Mentor's costume design. I really do.
Yes, it's a great invention. It works, and they're not the baddies where they've got a ray gun as the old-fashioned way. It's money, isn't it? It's just deals.
It's obviously it was obviously a costume that was designed purposely around. I can never remember his name. I'm really sorry. The actor who plays Sill, so that they could actually make it work. But it's a really, really good idea.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
like
build the band,
and
yeah.
how they built it and they worked it around him and made it, so that he could actually be a part of Doctor Who. Great
Speaking
costume.
speaking of costumes, should we mention the rack
Oh, the poor rat.
The rack.
that we didn't see really that much of? Maybe for
Wait,
obvious reasons.
am I missing something here?
Well,
The creature that attacks
Perry's
Perry,
rack.
the Doctor, and Perry
the
in
thing is,
the first episode of this
the thing is, it
story.
was, and I said in my preface as well, this also was a carnival of monsters. I mean, this had more monsters than Curse of Peladon, it felt like to me. I mean, all of a sudden, I was desperate on Curse of Peladon to see loads of monsters, and you got the Ice Warrior, Arcturus, and Alpha Centauri. Here you had the little pink, the little gay pteroleptal, on a gay pride march. There you go. He was all dolled up, he was negotiating pride badges, was the pteroleptal there, bless him. He's proud. I'm pleased for him. And then you had Lord Kiv, who wanted to do a deal about fish. You had Syl, you had the Rack, you had Brian Blessed. Oh, sorry, no, he wasn't a monster. Sorry, but Dorf. Dorf was brilliant. What did you think of Dorf, Rachel?
Dorf's great. I love the makeup for Dorf. I can't imagine how long that took.
Oh,
I actually think, and I'm just speaking about trial, like sort of overall now, that the money, they did actually put the money into it. You could see it, like the opening shots and the TARDIS going in and all sorts of things. And it's money well spent, I think.
it was colourful. I actually did enjoy this story overall. It was colourful. The lighting was dark enough. That's why at university I enjoyed all the pixelation. But it was I mean, look at that beauty. I mean, you could see. I agree with you, Rachel. All the money was spent. Look at that pink pterodactyl. Look at him.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on this front, which is they did reuse this, and why not? I mean, God, look at the size of that, and it was a beautiful shot at the beginning of part 1. We all know it, and to reuse it again in part 8. Well, yeah, too right. I'd have used it a few blooming times, to be honest.
It was quite spectacular.
Yeah,
it's very good.
So the sets,
it's very good.
I mean, look at that for a set. Look at that, where they have to they go up into the air. I found that fascinating. That one, just these little kind of added little bits. Beautiful set. I love that. I love that other mentor. The one said, "Please be quiet, please."
Please don't shout.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I wonder if that was an in joke with Brian Blessed. I don't know. But
it was. I was going to bring that up later, but seeing as you've mentioned it, I wondered that too, because obviously it could have been like, well, let's just put it like this. We all know that Brian Blessed is very loud. There's hardly any volume button with Brian Blessed. Very much the stage actor brought to the film, but not pulled it back. I often wondered if, because they knew they were having Brian Blessed, they decided to put that line in there.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, right. I'm going to throw a curveball at you now. You did mention Phil Tufnell instead of Phil Collinson. So,
well, I did stop myself, and then I'm like, I'm going to say Phil Tufnell. I know it's not Phil Tufnell.
So you threw a googly. Now, so my question is, how far do some of these famous actors you buy them basically and their version of doing anything, and we know that from some movies where you just got the same character, you just got them playing different. I don't know, it was just always them, wasn't it? They didn't really change too much.
Okay, so like
with Brian Blessed, how far are you getting Brian Blessed to be Brian Blessed, or how far are you getting him to be something different? Because when we say about the shouting, Brian Blessed's famous for that, so wouldn't you want something different, or would you want the same?
I would want something different, preferably, but it depends what they're looking for. I guess you could say. But then, of course, if you know you're going to hire Brian Blessed, you know what you're going to get.
Did you see in his performance then? I mean, the shouting is we almost stereotype him, don't we? But
Almost.
right, come on then. What did you see in his performance where you thought that was interesting? That was an interesting take. Oh yeah, okay. You're giving it a go here. You're not just taking the wage packet.
It would have been perhaps where the bit where Perry's talking about being homesick
Yeah,
and love, and then like she's talking about getting married, and then his response to that, it seems to sort of just bring her out of her sort of like down in the dumps mentality, and it makes her laugh. You know, when he's
yeah.
going, you know, this will happen to me, this will happen to me. I like that bit. I mean, Brian Blessed can act anyway, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and I'm not being like
Apparently, his character is supposed to show that he's never seen a woman before,
yeah, I got that.
which is problematic for that. I mean, it's a kids show, and you know, I mean, you just said that the interrogation scene. Hello, and so with this scene, yeah, I agree with you. I like that scene, and of course, Nicola would have enjoyed the fact that she could blooming do something different. And then, of course, Brian Blessed thinks, "Oh, I can go quieter here." And I can, but it's a hard one to do, isn't it? You know, he's a red-blooded male, and he's trying to show that he's never seen a woman before, and it's limited dialogue. You know, it's hard within a sentence to show so much.
Yeah, it is hard to do that.
And so I sometimes wonder whether I'm well. The joke about Brian Blessed in this case is too far, really, because you know, let's face it. How much dialogue are you given? Did you like all of Veruminog and all these different things he's got to say and the whistling? What was all that about? Do you think he was told to do that? I can't do
I
it.
don't know.
I was thinking, what's going on here? Was he doing military yoga? He was going, you know. I was just trying to work out what it was all about. Did that distract, or did you go interesting? Or again, Ron Jones sort this out as a director, cut that out. JNT runs down from the gallery going, "You're not doing that."
No, I just wondered why he was whistling. There must be a reason for it.
Was it kind of? I know. I'm trying to imagine. Was he thinking he's a military hero and but he wants to still himself? You know. Point of you know, I don't know. I was trying to work out what that was all about. It was interesting.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
You must have had a laugh in rehearsals over this sort of thing. I mean, when Colin Baker stays in Vengeance on Varus, when Nabil did do that, blah, 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 you know, they all went, wow. And of course, when Brian Blessed's in your rehearsal room and he starts going, whistling and it's like you must have gone, what?
It was meditating, I think. I think it was meditating.
Yeah. I thought there was a moment when I thought Nicola Bryant was smiling when he did something, and I'm sure it's like a half second. It's in one of those tunnel sequences, and it looks to me as though Nicola Bryant is almost going, "Oh, I didn't expect that."
Yeah, it's possible. Actors are a bit naughty sometimes. They are known to try and do something to throw the other actor off.
Yeah, to get the best out of you, they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard that one, haven't we? Yeah.
Well, yeah, they. I've done a show before where they pulled a prank on me in the middle of the show, and I was not expecting it, and I told them to just wait, and I will get them.
Yeah,
and I did, but I didn't. They didn't know when it was coming. That was the best thing about it.
when you read about Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines, and Deborah Watling, is that with our 2024 head on? Is that such a great wheeze, or is that bonding between a cast, or is that something that actually? Why was it mostly jokes about Deborah Watling? Do you, as an actress, do you kind of look and go, "Oh, it all sounds fun on the surface"? I'm not quite sure, really, if that would.
Wait, what?
I'm just saying.
What were they? What?
Just pranks, weren't they, Jeremy?
Yeah.
But
just pranks.
Giving her the birthday bumps and throwing her in the sea and
no, that's
the
pretty,
foam.
It's pretty standard, I would say. Actors get a bit like that.
Yeah,
it's still same as now. So
okay. Paul Richards, my brothers and I laughed when Syl laughed whilst the doctor was being brainwashed. End of part 1. Oh yes. That Colin Baker's jumping up and down as if he's been electrocuted, sort of thing, wasn't it? It was a bit like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And meanwhile, blah, 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 yeah, because that's the thing about Syl. He doesn't really kill anyone. He just enjoys seeing other people. You know, he's sadistic, isn't he? He just enjoys seeing other people's discomfort, and that's what kids like. I assume Paul Richards, naughty. So yes, so I asked you, Jeremy. Now, Rachel, when I come to you and these 4 episodes, any shout outs or any kind of critiques that we haven't mentioned yet? That bothered.
I like the first episode of it. I thought the first
Yes.
episode flowed quite well. And then
And the
obviously
paint shop, I love that Forest Peter and the moon and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I like all of that.
yes, it gave it a new kind of edge to it, the story
Yeah.
and the planet, rather than it just being somewhere that they've just filmed on the beach.
Oh no.
I like this episode. So I'm just looking at my notes to see if there was anything.
Which is episode 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I actually like I like all 4 parts. I think what really lets it down, and I think you may know what I'm going to say, is that just pulling it out of the actual story into the trial.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that sort of it jars the story. It'll go on, it'll go on for a long time, and then suddenly it goes like that, and suddenly the brakes have been slammed on because they're too busy wanting to call each other names in the courtroom or whatever it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, Michael Jason, Linda Bellingham, fantastic actors, but really, they don't add a lot to it. Not until the end, anyway.
I was going to ask you about that. And the Valeyard is famous, Michael Jason's voice and all the rest of it. However, he is, as an actor, he's allowed to explore because in the final 2 episodes, he changes.
Of course.
Whereas Linda Bellingham, when she gets the contract, and I'm sure, like you said earlier, it's Doctor Who, so she'll have said yes, probably. But once she said yes, I wonder if she thought, so I sit here with a clipboard with this strange headdress on, and I just keep saying, stop it. You two, she didn't have much to do, and it's not her fault.
No, she didn't have much to do at all. Really, it's a shame. It's a shame. We could have had a lot more with her.
This is the thing about Doctor Who. You've just said actors go, oh God, it's nice to have Doctor Who on my CV for the kids, for the grandkids. I get that, but then if Doctor Who knew that as a program, maximize their use rather than thinking, oh, we got them on and we shoved them behind a chair, behind a desk, and they asked a few questions like somebody says Crown Court in space, says Richard Brown. But that's not maximizing the use of Linda Bellingham.
Well, no, it's not, because, and I think the reason why she got sidelined quite a fair bit is because obviously they're bringing Anthony Ainley back as the Master, and that would be like 3 big names, 3 big personalities, all different in one episode, and it's a lot, isn't it? If you think about it.
Well, she's just really a female judge at the end of the day.
That's all she
in
is.
Space.
I wish that she'd had a bigger to do in it. I think. I mean, Big Finish did do that, but
she's doing the OXO ads a bit later on, sprinkling the OXO in there. All right, Time Lords, the casserole's ready.
It just always seems. It's just when you look back at if you did a list of the big actors who were in Doctor Who, and actually now you see what's accumulated, you go, oh my God. I mean, Lady Cassandra with Zoe Wanamaker was a good role, but she wasn't in it much. Now, I don't know what the deal was there, whether Zoe Wanamaker could do a day's filming with her voice and that was it. So that or whether the special effects were too hard to do. So she was minimized. But you think Zoe Wanamaker, you want her all over it. Hence why they brought her back a bit, I suppose. But you look at some of the actors. I mean, what's his name? He was in Stolen Earth. He's married. It was Dempsey and Makepeace. Michael, blah, blah, blah. American actor. And he's in a couple of scenes in Stolen Earth as one of the majors going, oh, we're under attack, and dies. What a waste.
Well,
Derek Jacobi.
Simon Dutton.
Yes.
Simon Dutton in the beginning of that episode. I mean, it was just, a short bit. That was it.
You just think... like one of your jobs, Andy Pryor, is to get some of the actors, but then the second thing is to give. as a producer or showrunners to give them a hell of a part, that even though they've done Shakespeare or whatever, they go, do you know what? Doctor Who really tested me. It was outstanding. And like you said, Rachel, with Derek Jacobi, I mean, oh my God, Derek Jacobi in that one story was able to show a real change. How he changed his facial muscles in seconds.
Like we could have just had like just one episode with him as the Master, just one, and I think people would have been really happy with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got no issue with him being like shot and regenerated into the John Sim Master, whatever, but I'd have just loved that one extra episode to have seen what he truly could have done with the Master, just that one.
And the thing is, the Derek Jacobi portrayal in those few scenes as the Master show you that there almost was a gear change after that, because there was nothing in Derek Jacobi's performance that said this is a mad character.
Nothing.
He was controlled,
scathing, and quite nasty.
Yeah, Michael Brandon, thank you. That was his name. Yes.
Yeah, and I actually think it would have been a bit of a nice juxtaposition, because at the time David Tennant was quite young, wasn't he? So, you know, having that older Master would have been great.
That's supposed to be the point of what you do, isn't it? You do that,
and particularly coming back off the back of the Anthony Ainley. Well, I forgot there was the American Master as well, whatever his name was, but but mainly coming off the back of the Anthony Ainley Master, you've got to have that contrast in the older Master. That I'd love to have had it.
Yes, and you see that I think that was a problem with the 80s TARDIS crew. Nothing against any of the personalities, but if Peter Davison's a young Doctor, you needed a much older companion.
I agree.
That would have helped. And Tegan wasn't older. I mean, honestly, so it was just like a hectoring sister or something. It was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, we could have had that older companion. The older companion does work. It really does.
Well, I love the idea. You know, when you think of any scene in Doctor Who, everybody, including the Thread, where they're both running like the clappers from whatever danger. But when you've got an older companion, they can't run. So they've got to do something different, or the Doctor's got to leave them behind and go back and get them. It just changes the whole thing. He can't run back and get in the TARDIS and take off. He has to go, oh, God, yeah, your legs, you're lame.
Maybe not quite that way.
Oh, no, I knew your bunion was playing up.
I'll tell you who was very good, Maggie Stables.
Oh, she was with
Colin Baker, Doctor on The Big Finish.
She would have been a very good TV companion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, while we're speculating, I know we're doing Mind Warp, but we're having a Mind Warp as Doctor Who fans as well. Left-handed Jedi. Ooh. John Hurt versus Derek Jacobi. Oh, what a missed opportunity.
That would War Master, I guess, yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, so Doctor Who managed to get both those actors, but we managed to balls it up and not get them in the same story. I mean, hello.
Wasn't that far apart, surely?
No, it wasn't really.
And then, gosh, that would have been brilliant.
So John Yulden, he's still alive, everybody. They're playing dance music in the gym that I'm sure is ripped straight from Delta and the Bannermen. Oh, well, good luck. Is anyone throwing meat at you? Because Don Henderson with that piece of meat was just, oh, God, I mean, honestly. Is there a little baby in the corner, John Yulden, with its little press-ups? I'm the chosen one. Anyway, so there you go. We're being naughty. But I had so many stories and questions about this Mind Warp, because were there any caught scenes in these 4 episodes where you thought, oh, that was a good bit, that works? I agree, overall, it seemed to be an intrusion. But were there any scenes where you go, oh, I love that bit? I love that bit of interplay.
The interplay was better in this particular set of episodes, I think. Obviously, and the other ones, it starts to pull a bit, because it's just a repeat of what we've seen earlier on with the banter with the Valeyard.
Yeah, I quite like the bit where in part 3 where it leads to the cliffhanger where the Valeyard suggests that the Doctor is actually responsible for the death of Perry
Yeah.
and the others. I quite like that bit.
Well, and what shocked me, Rachel, is because I was ready for it. You know, and you're thinking, oh, blooming Brendan said Mindwarp, so you watch it again. And I was waiting for I was waiting for most of the cliffhangers to be, you know, that close up of Colin's face, but
Yes.
it wasn't in these 4, was it? So actually, I'm thinking, was it Terror of the Vervoids and was it Mysterious Planet where we kept getting a close up of Colin Baker's face, which was not a cliffhanger at all? So I was glad to see that wasn't happening. So you think whether Eric Sayward was working his courtroom scenes out now and going, okay, yeah. No more jokes about the boatyard, the scrapyard, the knackers yard, as the Inquisitor says. Because I did find those cheap shots. I thought the Doctor's quite clear he's in trouble, and just to do that, I don't know.
So I actually write down all the cliffhangers just in case I need to talk about them. So 2 of the 4 had it like a close up on Colin's face, which is part 7 and part 8, or part 3 and part 4. But they both were in context of what was going on.
Yeah. Which was much better, wasn't it, than what I imagined when I thought I've got to watch it because I've decided I've got to watch it.
I'm not complaining. It's a good excuse to watch my favourite Doctor.
Well, I knew you'd be on board.
I was just a bit surprised when you chose it. I was like, oh.
It could have been worse. It could have been the War Games. Sit through 10 episodes of that.
I'd already done it by that point.
Yeah. Just for people to know, Rachel was saying this to me behind the scenes, weren't you, Rachel? And you were saying, you were wondering whether what was your decision in the end with War Games? Are you breaking it up?
I am breaking it up, and I let my subscribers decide, and they chose 4 parts
because they want you to just do 4 parts.
And I'll be going dong. No, I won't be going dong. Yeah, I think I can do it in 4 parts. It was just it's obviously it's 10 episodes, and unlike the Trial of the Time Lord or the Key to Time, they're not broken. It's not broken down into stories. It's all one big story, and that was the problem I was having. And I was thinking, do I get people on and we discuss it together? Do I do this? Do I do it as a special? And we were talking about it behind the scenes, and I was just like, I'm gonna have to put it to the vote. So I said 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts. Which would you like? And they went for 4. So 4 it is, and I think I can do it.
Rachel, you missed the joke though. You should have had in your poll 10 parts. You should have
and then do 1 per episode. So what? Each one will be about 5 minutes, because the Dr. Jamie and Zoe get caught again. The Dr. Jamie and Zoe get caught again.
Yeah. Oh, it's me again. And
look, it's Rudolph Walker from EastEnders. Hi.
Well, I know if it was 10 parts, it's good. She didn't ask that question because she'd never gone on holiday.
Oh God, never would have made it.
Maybe that's the plan. Maybe people want you not to go on holiday and keep producing shows, Rachel. That's maybe the thing.
I've got videos lined up for when I haven't recorded them yet, but I will have videos lined up for when I go away.
It's killer. I was supposed to be getting ready for a wedding, and there's me. I kept saying, I've done an upload. Oh God. I mean, honestly, the garden needed doing, the house needed doing. We had to book stuff, and I'm going, I've done another upload on the Cyberman. Why? We're mad. Me and Rachel are mad. Confirmed. We're mad.
The next story you'll be doing, Rachel, will be the Daleks master plan.
Oh.
Yeah. She's warmed up now. She's warmed up.
I'm ready to go.
Vote for the Daleks master plan.
Oh.
So, we didn't. Yeah, you mentioned that tension with the end. I mean, one of my favorite court scenes wasn't in this Rush of 4, which was when they upgraded it from we're kind of looking into your interference, and now it's going to be, we're upgrading it to you're going to die if you're guilty and all that stuff. I loved all that. Now SG, for example, and I don't know if I liked this at the time. I remember, I love the Knackers Yard rant. I know. I mean, the famous bit with Colin Baker is later on in the Ultimate 4 when he does the speech about Daleks, Cybermen. I should have stayed here. I don't know. I found it funny because Colin Baker is legally trained, isn't he? And he's given legal scenes, and he must have been reading a script sometimes, going,
I bet he was, yeah.
because he's a sharp cookie, and he must have thought,
Yeah.
"Oh gosh, we're going to do Trial of a Time Lord. Oh, I can imagine some real legal niceties." And then he was delivered that. And I think it might have sounded a good idea, but in practice, it never worked.
I think he said that they had a lot of fun delivering those like insults, but it wasn't like, I mean, don't quote me on it, but it wasn't the sort of like the best. I'm just reading my notes, sorry, because I've actually got one other thing. So there's speaking of racks, the actual rack,
Rack.
in this,
The monster,
the actual monster.
yeah.
It's Colin's line about doing the skedaddle test. I don't
Yes.
like that line.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought it was fun.
I must admit, I noted it down as well because, it was a ruse to get her around the other side, wasn't it? I wonder whether sometimes there's an issue with the script and what can be done. The sets that had a version of pretend soil, you're in a cave, your footing has to be careful. There's a stretcher, there's 3 actors. The line says skedaddle test and get Perry round, and then he quickly does that. And to be honest, it wasn't much of a moment because within half a second he could have been shot. And then they go, "Oh, it's all right. The rack, not the rack, something will get him down there." And you think, it's not quite Exelon where that whole route would have got him, and then he's left to that. But I don't know if it was the dialogue, Rachel, more than how it was shown, and you think, oh, whether that was the best they could do from rehearsal, which is a quick flip of a stretcher, and they were still in shot, and he said, "Oh, it's all right. I can't be bothered shooting them." I thought, really?
I don't know, but yeah, it's just not my favorite bit. But one of my favorite bits, the contrast with that, is Dorf calling you're kind of jealous, and they start posturing against each other. And it just makes me laugh because they're just like, "Yeah, you're jealous." Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, and then there was I say it's a lovely moment. There was a moment when Brian Blessed's character had to correct himself because he said, "You're a great dog of war," and then he quickly flipped it because he realized that what had happened to his equerry was disgusting, and to say a dog, because he told off the Perry character, didn't he, for almost patronizing him in comments as if he was a dog. And do you know what? Is this an Eric Serud thing? Because of course, in Revelation of the Daleks, you had the equerry there, the chivalrous knight, and what's his name, Jeremy? The smelly one. Somebody in the thread will tell us. You have that twosome, that pair, don't you?
Yeah.
Martin Gaunt was playing the chivalrous knight.
William Gaunt, yeah.
Yeah, and then you had the other guy, bless him, whose name I can't remember.
No.
And he was the stinky little one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The peasant who was helping out. And it seems like an Eric Serud obsession to have that kind of honor, chivalry, dying in battle, because it's the same characterization again, isn't it, really? Yakarnos was saying he wants to die in battle as a hero, didn't he?
Yeah.
But if I was Ron Jones and I was looking at the script and I was rehearsing, and the director's trying to go, "Well, hold on, I'll explain that and we'll change that slightly unless I talk to the writer." When you're in caves and everything's trying to be careful and you're subterfuge and secrecy, I know there were 1 or 2 lines saying shh, but his shouting all the time makes no sense because it was a giveaway. Everywhere there were, it was a giveaway. I'm down the corridor, down the side here, shouting his mouth off. Bostock, by the way. Jamie Tron has helped me. Bostock and Orsini, of course. Yeah. But don't you think, Rachel, that Ron Jones would have said, "Oh, well, you can't be shouting when you're just down a tunnel and you're trying to hide." Sir Brian Blessed.
Sorry, I'm just like, I don't have much to say to that because, like, I love Brian Blessed. He's very good, but nice. The volume button doesn't transition from stage to the film.
Well, you just get the character Perry just to say, "Shh, otherwise they'll hear it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is this a good finish for Nicola Bryant's character?
Yeah, in general, I think, aside from what happens later, but yeah, I think so.
I mean,
I
She could
prefer it when
finally speak in an English accent at the end.
yes, she was. She was.
Mm.
I prefer it where they just say, "I'm going now, goodbye," and that's it, like a kind of Sarah Jane Under Fear episode.
Yeah. I mean, there were moments when I think some companions left and there was no sad music and there was nothing, and that was the end of it. I mean, poor Susan Foreman didn't get much. She got a speech,
Mm,
but it was basically you dumped.
yeah,
And I'm going to leave you with a mortal on Earth, even though you're a time lady, we assume. And he will die, but I hope you've enjoyed love for a little moment, and then you'll be a little lonely woman. Okay, bye. I mean,
Odd.
but the problem of killing off a character, say if they killed off Sarah Jane Smith, for instance, in The Hand of Fear, they couldn't have brought her back. We wouldn't have got those wonderful stories like School Reunion or the Sarah Jane Adventures or Canine and Company.
I think,
So
yeah, I think at least it was a pretty clean exit. I mean, if you look at a character like Dodo did not get a clean exit whatsoever. Her contract expired during the middle of the episode or something, of the story. Sorry, and it's just what? Why? Just oh yeah, sorry, your contract expired, so we just wrote her out.
but it's like the doctor says, "Oh, where's Dodo? Oh, she's staying with so and so. Never mind. I won't say goodbye. Let's nip off into."
Well, there's gratitude for you.
Yeah.
Can I?
It's like it's all very sort of matter of the fact.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I'm thinking of what Nicola was asked to do in her finale, yeah, her last scene, she plays something very different. Yes, her accent changes, Rachel. Yeah, and she plays a villain. She's in a lot of tunnels, being yapped at by some military kind of shouty wouty, and then she was interrogated on a rock. I don't know. I find it funny one. It to me almost looked like her death when I first watched it. Her death seemed to be an add-on, and it looked as though it wasn't planned. If you get my gist, it looked as though this was a sudden, decision. You think, oh gosh, was she leaving? Gosh, it just seemed everything seemed not to build to that. Which I know now you go, oh, hold on, they were looking for a head. We all thought it was going to be the doctor's head. It looked, but I don't know. If I was Nicola Bryant, I'm just wondering if this is the big moment,
But any actor would be thinking about, well, if they do kill my character off, I can't come back. You were thinking, I might like to come back.
I wonder if Nicola Bryant sometimes thought, Philip Martin, you love to give lines that I am repulsive, because in both stories you are a repulsive person, but the Syl doesn't say that to the doctor. He says that she's repulsive because she's a female, isn't it? Isn't it just some, I don't know, is this misogyny, just flying in there just up from left of center? Because why is it just supposed to be a joke that he says that somebody who's good looking is repulsive? Is that the joke?
I think it's just to sort of say that the character is obnoxious and has all the bad traits of all the very bad traits of everything.
The other thing that I want to ask you about is the Valeyard. He has certain lines when he calls the doctor. I think it's in either part 7 or part 8. He calls him a toady and a coward for what happens, because he has some questions about, do you like danger, doctor? Do you relish danger? And he has various questions, and he comes up with that statistic that the companions are twice in danger more than the doctor. Oh, you never. The perils of Penelope Pitstop. Hello. But the Valeyard, I found it interesting, knowing that he is actually the darker side of the doctor. When you see those lines, it's like self-doubt, self-analysis, because he's actually saying, when you talk to yourself, you actually question yourself. It's quite interesting. I find this scene now when you see the Valeyard saying, you are a toady, you are a coward. And it's so the version of himself he doesn't like, he's almost just slagging off. And looking at that scene again, I'm kind of a bit more interested in it then. Because it just seems to be, it's almost like you're watching the same person stare at a mirror, slag themselves off through confidence or lack of confidence or something. I just thought that, you see, as you do,
I mean, at that stage, I think we just saw him as the prosecutor.
Yeah.
We did.
You didn't see him as the darker side of
Well, you
Doctor.
see, Jeremy, I was going really, I was really,
Getting in the mind that
I was really good. I was doing a Ron Jones. I was going right now. Okay, folks.
I don't think Eric Sawwood saw that deep. Maybe.
maybe not.
Or Phil Martin.
I was going to ask, do you think that they knew at that point that was who the Valeyard was actually going to be?
Well, what would the decision be? I mean, Doctor Who, they're writing the scripts as on the hoof half the time. So when they get Michael Jason, do they say, Michael Jason, you are going to play the dark side of the Doctor, and you're going to be looking like you're in court scenes most of the time? Or does it just surprise them? But if they knew Rachel and Jeremy, they should tell all the actors, shouldn't they, before the start?
It depends. It's possible that Michael Jason may have known. He's not around anymore for us to ask, unfortunately. But they don't always reveal it to the actors. I think one of the most famous ones, I believe, it was this is just going to somewhere else now. Alan Rickman knew about Snape before anyone else. Obviously, J.K. Rowling obviously knew, but Alan Rickman knew about that. But nobody else did, and he kept it a secret until it was revealed in obviously Deathly Hallows as to who Snape really was. So yeah, you just don't know. Sometimes the actor who is playing that role will know, but the others won't. I think Alex Kingston is another example of that. She knew about who River Song was before anyone else as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So overall, when you look at Mindwarp, since I was naughty and asked you to watch it, I said earlier, and I maintain, and I loved it at the time, it was one of my favourite bits, seeing the Time Lords be all powerful and interfere, and the time bubble, and trying to delay Yukanos' attack, and real interference, everything they tell the Doctor off, and they totally interfered. I loved all that. The trouble was, don't you think, that because we had the mysterious planet where we had the Ravolox censored tapes, then we have this one where they're interfering. You start to think, oh, right, okay, right. So the Time Lords are corrupt as hell, and we've got a problem here. But I personally loved the final episode. I loved all that interference stuff. I found that quite dramatic. And I thought, oh, big stakes now, big stakes.
But I mean, we do know that the Time Lords aren't perfect.
Yes, I discovered
that a long time ago, as in Deadly Assassin. So this isn't a race that is, we're perfect. They're not.
Definitely not.
Are you over their costumes now? Because at the time I was watching, they're distinctive. But by the time the Trial of a Time Lord came on, I was thinking, I don't know if this is getting a bit tired. There was nothing dramatic about the courtroom set. Maybe that's because it's a courtroom. All those jurors behind just sat there. Then you had the keeper of the Matrix at the end in the same. It's like
the direction was flat with the courtroom scenes.
It's too light again, wasn't it? It was too light, the set, and
I mean the set was pretty static in itself. I mean the only thing that was moving was of course the screen, on the images on the screen. I mean, now it'd be done differently because they'd have the handheld cameras, so the picture would be wobbling just to create some movement and some fluidity in it.
Well, here's a question for both of you, right? Right, Rachel first.
Okay.
You are the new showrunner for Doctor Who. RTD has mysteriously been sacked. I don't know why. So you're the new showrunner. And you've got lots of creative decisions you could make. Would you, since the Valeyard is always going to be viewed as one of the Doctors, would you ever consider bringing the Valeyard back, knowing you haven't got Michael Jason?
No. That's because I don't know. I'd have trouble visualizing somebody else in that role. That's my problem with it.
Yeah.
But I also don't think is it necessary? What would be the reason? I mean, he's supposed to be between like his final regeneration or something, isn't it? Something like that.
Well, if Doctor Who was allowed to run its course, and one day the BBC says we're not making any more, we've just had enough, it's never coming back, that's it, and so you can do a finale, it makes sense that you get the Valeyard at the end because that's what he is. So, but Michael Jason sadly isn't around, and he had such a fantastic presence and voice, of course. But we've got David Bradley, we've had Richard Herndl. I know that these creatives, they're dying to give us a new third Doctor, second Doctor. They are. So why is it acceptable, I suppose, to have a first Doctor presented now that's not William Hartnell, but we can't do a Valeyard?
Well, I think with the first Doctor, they'd already done it with Richard Herndl, hadn't they?
Yeah.
So they felt that they could do it again. And get away with it. That's the only thing that I'd be able to put to it. I mean, the thing is, I'm quite like protective over certain things to do with Doctor Who. I guess that's the craziness of the fan base, and I just wouldn't want to ruin it at the end of the day.
I know. He was such a distinctive character. Yeah,
exactly. And when you recast something like the first Doctor, you would have to be like their interpretations of the first Doctor would have to be that of William Hartnell, similar to it. And David Bradley definitely does it. Richard Herndl does do it. I think David Bradley has it down pat a little bit more, but you would have to present that. This is the first Doctor as you knew it, just with a different actor doing it. It's almost be like an impersonation.
Yeah, and generally, haven't we had this before with the Master? I mean, you had Roger Delgado. If you're going to say Michael Jason was such a great characterization of the Valeyard, how can you then have the Master as Anthony Ainley, Peter Pratt, everybody else, John Sim? Roger Delgado. There was one Master. Leave him alone.
Well, yeah, I would with this particular character, I would just leave it the way it is. I mean, unless there's any particular demand from the fans, I would just leave it the way it is. I think
because all the rumors about the Rani might come back because it's Mrs. Flood, and that I
don't think she will.
No, I don't, because I keep hearing rumors that they don't own the rights to the Rani.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Pip and Jane Baker's creation, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's right, and they died without any children.
Yeah,
so and so it's in the state.
So I cheer, yes, because I don't want the Rani back, because I enjoyed Kate O'Mara's depiction. Valeyard, I'm answering my own question here. No, it's Michael Jason. But then if I'm applying that same logic, I can't have another first Doctor iteration, and I can't have another Master iteration, because it's not fair.
And we know that they regenerate.
Well, you see, that's the cop-out, isn't it, Rachel?
Yeah.
That's what everyone does nowadays. They like to say Time Lords are gender fluid, so you can have what the hell you want. Oh, here's Jodie,
RP has said, could they use David Jason instead?
Or with
Valeyard, I'm guessing.
Is that with voice?
It's too old now.
I was going to say, wouldn't David Jason be too old?
He's 86 now, isn't he? 83, 86.
I mean, actors keep going until they pop their clogs, most of them. But
I know he said he wanted to do a stage, some Shakespeare, but he said I don't think he was very good at remembering the lines now, so he'd have to have an auto cue. He said, "I'll do it."
Little earpiece,
an earpiece, yeah.
It's a little. Sometimes the last performance of an actor, though, are so beautiful. I mean, look at Dame Maggie Smith. I mean, God, I thought she was outstanding. I loved her. Left-handed Jedi has a question for us. Since Doctor Who is a show about time travel, can we take the sequence of the episodes to be in chronological order for the Doctor, or could they have occurred in a different order, I suppose, is what you're saying?
Is that specifically for Trial of the Time Lord?
Well, you see, that was part of the thing, because Terror of the Vervoids was his future, wasn't it? So it's like, we're grabbing something from your future, but still with your blonde hair. I mean, was Shooty born then? No, because he's only 32. I know. Have I a question for you? Doctor Who is a show about time travel. Can we take the sequence of the episodes to be in chronological order for the Doctor, or could they have occurred in a different order? I don't think it's made clear.
I mean, there's always question about like how he met Mel, because they sort of left that
Oh,
open
yeah.
ended, didn't they? So
The-
maybe
Mad Mel, as RTD has her now. Mad Mel. Bonkers auntie.
bonkers.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bonnie Lanford, come on, I've got a question for you, Bonnie Lanford. You know, musical West End star. And then RTD says, can you come back on? Because I want you to play a Mad Auntie. And you went, oh, go on then. I mean, come on, Carmel was better in EastEnders. I mean, dear
Oh, I
me.
forgot she was in EastEnders as well.
She was. I liked her in EastEnders. That's when you thought, oh, yeah, good for you, Bonnie Lanford. Yeah, that's what... Following up on the Monsters episode, I think they should bring back Dougal or the Giant Kitten. Well, yes. Oh,
That was the goodies.
The
That
goodies.
was a different show.
The goody yum yum. Yes, I know. Good old Heather. The thing is, you can't quite regenerate the Valeyard because of who he is. One specific regeneration of the Doctor. Presumably, if he were to... Oh, very good point. Presumably, if he were to regenerate after that, he might no longer be the Valeyard. Heather, spot on. Clever remark. He's one incarnation of the Doctor. So that's it. Yeah, it's like you can't say Peter Davison is turned into something. However, Heather, the first Doctor is the first Doctor, but how come he's got 3-4 different heads now? Back at you, Heather. But yeah, good question. Good point, actually. Very good point. Right, folks. Well, that was the Mind Warp. Are you glad I picked that one and not the Mysterious Planet?
We dusted off the cobwebs off it and given it a sensible review. Yeah.
I have to say, though, every time I watch a classic now, even the ones I didn't like as much, because of what we've just had, I think they're all amazing.
That week when we did the Mark of the Rani, it was such a relief to get back to an alien. It really was. I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. I know he's my favorite Doctor anyway, so I won't sing any tunes, but it just felt good.
Yeah. And I try and be objective, although the more I've got skin in the game, the more I'm thinking, but I mean, I'm going to have to watch Underworld and do some of those. In fact, in the thread, write to me on sensorsphere@gmail.com and recommend a story which you think is really, really pretty tawdry. And let's see what we can make of it in the light of what we've seen. Because that's the only fair way we can do it. If we're going to be harsh on season 1, it's in the light of having watched every other Doctor Who. So when we watch an old Doctor Who, it's also in the light of what we've seen now. So hello, timey-wimey.
Or they could actually give us one from each Doctor.
Yes.
A clunker of a story.
But I won't be doing 10 parts, okay?
I recommend the Daleks Master Plan.
So
Include the Taste of Stephen.
We've been teasing everybody, Rachel, but come on then, give you a shout out on what you're up to.
Yeah. Okay, so my channel is Chat About It, Don't Shout About It at chat_about_it. And I release videos Sunday through to Thursday at 4 p.m. If you're looking specifically for Doctor Who, because I cover other controversial things as well, then Doctor Who will be on a Sunday at 4 p.m. And what is it this Sunday? I can't remember. Brain and Morbius, I think.
Crotons? No.
No, Brain and Morbius. I think it's Brain and Morbius. I can't remember what it is on Sunday. I haven't recorded it yet. But if you want the War Games, that's going to be in a couple of weeks because I've got to write it first.
It's all about brain transplants, this one, isn't it?
Yeah. So, are you available next week? Do we see you next week, Rachel, on this channel and on your own?
Yes. And then I'll be on holiday after that.
Ooh.
So I'll be back for one more show here.
So we went that way to the North America, and you're going that way.
Yep, South Korea.
Very nice, very nice. So, well, it's great to have you on. And of course, Rachel's channel goes great guns, and you know that she's very diverse. It's not just Doctor Who. So, yeah, take your pick. You have a structure with your days, don't you?
I do.
On Wednesdays, isn't it?
Yeah. So on a Monday, we look at TV and film. I do talk about the entertainment industry quite a lot. Tuesday, we cover TikToks. Wednesday, woke, and it's generally within the entertainment industry. And then Thursday, we have Keep It Positive. Friday, you can capture my face. And Saturday, we have a poll.
So
So
there you
something
go.
every day.
Something every day. My God, she's
Something
hot
for
to trot.
everyone.
I know. I think doing 3s. I did do a lot before, but yeah, I've pulled back a bit. Now, the one that's going great guns is RTD Shuts Up Shooty. That's still out there. I think that's about to hit 1K. So it's only 20 minutes long. So have a good look. Taking a Rachel's like that. She's like short and snappy, and she gets the numbers, of course. But yeah, that's that one. But on Friday, remember, we will be doing our detox for Aussies, because I'm an Aussie, remember. And we're looking at our favorite stories. We're looking at a wrap up of the news. You know that we tend to go down rabbit holes as Aussies. It's a bit more chilled. And so midday Friday UK time, which is 10 p.m. in Australia. And of course, other territories can join us too. So that's the detox on Friday. And on Sunday at 6, Jeremy will be joining us because he was there.
I was there.
Longleat 1983. Were you there, Rachel?
No,
She wasn't born
I
then.
wasn't
I know, I know.
born.
You were just a twinkle,
Are you,
twinkling
was.
star
are you,
in the time vortex.
are you, do
I
you
feel
wish,
old now. I feel old.
do you wish you could have gone, or do you think, yeah, sounds like
I wish that I could have gone, but if it helps you at all, I have been to Longleat.
she's trying to get on the show.
Well, let me tell you, it was a very cold weekend, and you didn't see much, so you didn't miss out much.
Yeah, we're going to tell the truth about Longleat 1983. I've got Simon Lydiard on. I've got I won't do the list. There's everybody who went. Not everybody who went. That's a few 100,000. No, 30,000.
The world went to that event.
Yeah, we've got the stories. We've got the truth. I know they say it's the Woodstock of Doctor Who, but I didn't go to Woodstock, so I don't know. But yes, I think it's time. Longleat 1983. Let's get it out the way. I'm not going to eulogize. I'm going to tell the truth. Jeremy's going to tell the truth, and everybody else. We're just going to say it as it is. We were all of an age, weren't we, Jeremy?
Yeah, we were young and gullible at that age.
And
I'm
Jeremy,
not young and gullible now.
Jeremy has sent me some photographs, which I appreciate, and it's funny because I'm going, "Oh, you were sat there. I was sat there." So when you were watching Patrick Troughton, you were just at the to the left of me, and that.
Yeah.
God, if we all knew, we'd have all been having a nice little chat. But it was, I was in.
You can't make it up, can you?
It's weird because now all these people who are coming on the Sunday show, we were all in the same tent at the same time. It's really weird and very timey-wimey.
We were lucky we managed to get in the tent, but anything else.
Well, me and our dad wouldn't get out the tent. We were there for Peter Davison, John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton. We were there for most of the time. We just stood up and moved and sat down again.
I'm surprised the army didn't grab you and push you out of the tent.
I remember, Jeremy, there is the one thing I always say, and I'll never stop saying it. We didn't pay.
Well, you were like, then you can't really argue about it. Then you can't grumble about it, can you?
Remember, we parked at Longleat House the night before, and then in the morning, the ticket booth was erected behind us. we were in.
They probably thought it was the Master's TARDIS.
They'll come to you. They'll be like, "We've been looking for you for 40 years. You owe us however many bob it is."
You owe us £5.
You watch every Doctor Who fan hate my guts now.
But adjusted for inflation, that's
so
now
you went to the
£500.
Woodstock of Doctor Who and you didn't even pay. Yeah, sorry. So SG, just to finish off, I've been to Longleat lots of times, but that's because it's only about half an hour. You see, that was the thing, SG. I'm in Middlesbrough. Northeast to southwest is not a good one with trains or anything. It's a long one. So, and I was a little kid. Well, I say 12, I think it was. And my dad said, well, my mum and dad lied. They said, you can't go. You can't go. It's too much. Because I said, I'll go on my own. And then I said, I'd go with a friend from school. His parent wouldn't let him go either, because we'd have had to have done about 3 or 4 train changes. And on a Sunday, bank holiday, Easter, no. So basically it was a no. And I was in bed, and then suddenly at about midnight or 11:30, my dad woke me up and he said, we're going. And it was like, whoa, and so that was the end of that. There we go.
Did you take any pictures?
We took a few pictures, but it was in the days when you had one little camera.
Mm.
Of course, my dad surprised me, so I couldn't buy a film. So whatever was in the film, I couldn't save up my pocket money, so I couldn't spend everything on the auction. I didn't bother with the auction, did you?
Probably
800
couldn't get
quid.
in the
No,
tent.
yeah, I didn't bother going in. And I only was there for a day, like you would think, Jeremy, on the Sunday. And so I when my dad said, "Where do you want to go? Which marquee?" I was thinking, well, not that one, not that one, that one. The Forum to see the actors. I'm not going to queue for autographs. What's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was anyway.
Every queue for everything was 3 miles long.
It was, and it was damp, and there's only one photograph of me with a Sontaran, and he's taller than me. No, sorry. Nothing. And everybody says I look like Adric. How dare you? So, look, I've enjoyed that. It's been a good laugh, and thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
Rachel, thanks for
Yes.
well, it's all happening, and so we'll see you both again. And obviously, Detox midday Friday. And Rachel, when are you next on yours again?
Okay. We're actually getting a bonus video today, so it'll be a bit later. But that's on something that's not Doctor Who related. So if you want Doctor Who, it'll be Sunday at 4.
Okay, brilliant. Right. Good night, everybody, and thanks for that.
Bye.
I've really
Night.
enjoyed it. Bye.
Bye.
Please subscribe. Go and watch Rachel later. Good night.